We are painting this cute little Santa hat today, so grab your paints, get some coffee or tea, some Christmas music going, and let's dive into this one because this is a fun one. All right, for today's supplies, I am using Derwent's Inktense palette and then a size 8 round brush. This is Princeton's Aqua Alight series. And then a cup of water. We are gonna use some white gouache, so I just have Winsor & Newton's permanent white. We're gonna use that for the snow at the end. I usually don't use that much white gouache with watercolor, but 'tis the season with Christmas. It is the perfect thing to add snow, so it's a great thing to have on hand, especially this time of year. All right, let's jump in and sketch out real fast our chimney and our hat, and then we can get into how we're gonna paint this. All right, so we're gonna just start with simple shapes. So we've got a rectangle for our chimney, and then we'll pull some lines coming down. They're a little bit inside the rectangle we just drew. Bring those kind of down. And then we're just gonna do a little bit of some snow at the bottom of our chimney. So just some simple kind of hill lines almost. They're just little curved lines, so it looks nice and poofy. So once we've got that drawn, now we can come in and add the snow that's also gonna be on our chimney. So again, snow is kind of puffy, so I keep those lines very rounded, more organic-y. And then I'm gonna come in and again, kind of round the bottom. So now that we've got that drawn, we can erase this middle line because we don't need that anymore. Okay, now that we've got that, let's draw our Santa hat coming out. So it's gonna kind of be a curved line kind of going this way, and then we're gonna pop it out and up. Do the cute little fuzzy ball at the end. I think that looks pretty good. I might just stick this out a little bit further. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. Drawing wise, I think that's all we're gonna do. This is a little slightly slanted, I just noticed that. So I'll straighten that a little more. This line was a little more crooked. You wanna make sure in the drawing stage, you get everything where you want it to be before you start adding paint. Because once you add paint, if the drawing's a little off, it's gonna be really hard to fix that. So triple, quadruple check your drawing before painting. All right, that looks good. First thing, let's paint in our chimney. So I'm just gonna grab kind of like a yellow ochre. It's a tannish color that I'm gonna kind of paint in the chimney. You can choose also any colors you want to paint in your chimney, but that's kind of what and I'm also gonna grab a little bit of magenta color, a little red. Okay, once you got that color, we're gonna just come in and fill in this entire shape. Okay, once that's painted in, so I don't have to pull out the blow dryer, we'll just go to a different spot that's not touching this area. So we'll go and start painting the red of the hat. And that's kind of, I usually try and do that when I'm painting areas, is go to a different area that's not touching this at all to not have to use the blow dryer. So I'm mixing up a red, kind of just a light bright red right now, not too dark, because we'll come in and add some shadows on the hat in a little bit. And again, just fill this guy in as well. Okay, now I'm gonna have to pull out my blow dryer because we wanna put in the snow next. And so all of this kind of, the hat and the chimney is touching where we're doing the snow. So we gotta make sure that's dry before we put our blue on here. Make sure your brush is rinsed out real good because this is gonna be a really light value. So you wanna make sure that you got nothing in your brush besides just a little bit of a light blue for this snow. I'm gonna add just a little more blue up in here, kind of towards the top, and a little bit right here. Rinse my brush and I can just soften some of that. And then I'll just pull some of this down here. Pull some of that off, keeping that kind of lighter down at the bottom. Okay, that looks good for our snow. And then I'm gonna use just a little bit of, I kind of have like a navy color in here, with a little bit of like a magenta. I just want a light gray, really light value to kind of just put a little bit into the white part of our hat up here. So there's a little bit of a shadow on there. And I just kind of dotted that in really, really lightly. Very light value. All right, now I'm gonna dry this one more time real fast just so that everything's good. And then we're gonna put in the bricks on the chimney, add a shadow to our hat, and then we'll talk about adding the background and the snow. So this next layer on the hat, we're gonna get darker with it. So you can add a little bit of a purpley, some blues, some darker reds to get that nice and dark over here, kind of like a nice little shadow. So right now there's a lot of hard edges along here. So to smooth those out, I just take my brush, rinse that, kind of dab it on the paper towel, and then come back and start to kind of smooth those out. I'm gonna do the same thing, rinse my brush, dab it, keep smoothing until that's kind of blended in. Now we kind of have this nice transition from the dark into the lighter area of our hat. Okay, that looks good on the hat. So now I'm gonna come in and paint the bricks. So the color I had mixed up for the chimney already, I'm just gonna come back into and start to darken that. So I'm gonna add some browns, a little bit of some reds into there, and a little bit of green as well, just to get that a little bit darker. That went a little too dark, so I'm gonna go back and pull some red in there, and a little bit of orange as well. Okay, if you need to draw out your bricks, I would. Sometimes it depends. Sometimes I draw them out, sometimes I just paint them in, but we'll kind of lightly draw them in so that we know we've got this good to go. And what you want to do is just have different spacing in these bricks on each layer. So I kind of just do a pattern and kind of just switch back and forth. Now I'm gonna just use the same color, but lighten it with some water and just use it as a shadow underneath our snow right here. Just kind of in the cracks too of the snow. So again, same thing we did with the hat. I'm gonna kind of rinse off my brush, dry it lightly, and then pull that to soften it. Same thing. And then I'm gonna do one final little bit of a darker shadow on this hat. Just a little bit of a darker red, maybe add a little green in there to get it nice and dark. I love building up the shadow side of objects. I think it makes everything kind of pop. Rinse out my brush and then soften. Okay, that looks good for the hat, the chimney, the snow. All we have to do now is the background. All right, so for the background on this, once it's dry, pick a dark indigo, navy, or mix up a color that is kind of like a nice midnight blue type color, because we're gonna paint that around and then do our white gouache to make it look like it's nighttime. Also, when you're mixing this color up, mix a lot of it. Also at this point, if you want to use a bigger brush as well, that might help because you got a large area to fill in. I don't like putting tape around. I don't know, I just love the freeness of just like doing the strokes. However, but if you want to add tapes to have like a nice edge border, feel free to do that as well. So I came back in with a little more paint, so this is a little bit darker. Okay, now the thing is while this is still wet, so we don't actually want to dry it fully, we want to add our gouache because while it's still wet, it will kind of have a little bit of like a starbursty effect when we sprinkle that on. So it's not a huge rush. Like I'm still having time to kind of add my gouache into my palette because this is still pretty wet. So if you feel like it's gonna stress you out having to add the gouache, maybe have that on your palette ready to go. But we want it to kind of be like semi-dry, but not all the way dry. And then we'll get this fun starbursty effect. Again, I try to have like a scrap sheet of paper that I can like test out my splatters so that it's not too much. See how those are kind of doing like fun, snowy, like it looks like snow, like they're starbursting into fun little snow shapes, snowflake shapes. I'm gonna do a few more. And then what I'm gonna do is, now I'm gonna let it dry, and then I'm gonna come back with a little more of the snow so that I have these little tiny dots of the snow on the background as well, so that I have a mixture of different shapes back there. So I have some of the starburst snow shapes and then some of just the rounded dots from the paintbrush. So we'll let this dry. I'll probably use my blow dryer, and then we'll come back and do a few of those. Okay, you see how those kind of set in really, really nice? Now we have a nice little bit of dimension with those snowflakes, almost that they look like kind of they're further away, and then some that are a little bit closer up. So we'll dry this and take the tape off and call it good. I hope you guys had fun painting this one with me. These have been a lot of fun painting during the holiday season because it helps me kind of de-stress and relax, and hopefully it's been the same for you. This time of year can be a little bit hectic and a little bit crazy, and spending some time just putting Christmas music on and painting is such a de-stress for me. So I hope you've been enjoying these. If you could like and subscribe and comment and all those wonderful, wonderful things, they help a lot and I appreciate it. So thank you, and I will see you guys next time.